Hello, my name is Nicole Murray and I'm a speech and language therapist specialising in children's eating and drinking skills. I work for the NHS but also do some independent work, and the team at Positive About Down Syndrome have asked me to talk to you about feeding and Down syndrome. Now, as there's a lot more to eating and drinking than you might think, I've split this talk into some separate parts. Part 1 is going to be all about the typical mechanics of eating and drinking, and part 2 is about dysphagia, and that's when the mechanics of eating, drinking and swallowing go wrong. Part 3 is more about what you can do at home to help if you're worried about your baby or child's eating and drinking skills. Now, you can watch all 3 of these talks in sequence or just skip to the info that you think you need right now. It's really up to you. So to start off, this is part 1, and it's all about the normal mechanics of eating, drinking and swallowing. Now, to start off, you might be thinking, speech and language therapists working with eating and drinking difficulties? Well, as speech and language therapists, whilst our training focuses on all aspects of communication, it also covers the anatomy, physiology and neurology of the head and neck. And this therefore puts SLTs in the best position to assess and support children and adults with eating, drinking and swallowing difficulties, also known as dysphagia. So let's talk about eating, drinking and swallowing. And I feel it helps to make it a bit more practical. If you can grab yourself a glass of water or have a cuppa to hand, or even a biscuit or 2 or something else to eat, that would be great. And then you can actually maybe have a go at eating and drinking as I talk about each of the stages in the eating and drinking process. I'll be doing it too, so I really hope it doesn't get too messy. So let's talk about this typical eating, drinking and swallowing. What I'd like to start off with saying though is to stress that although obviously we're going to be talking about when there's a problem, i.e. a dysphagia, not all babies and children with Down syndrome have feeding or swallowing difficulties. But I do think it's important to know that it is actually in fact very common. I believe some sources state it as being as much as 80% of people with Down syndrome have some sort of eating, drinking or swallowing difficulty at some point in their lives. So this talk really is to increase your awareness of what to look out for and how to help your little one at home. So why is it more prevalent for children and people with Down syndrome? It may well be due to a hypertonia or low muscle tone. That can also include low muscle tone in the torso, because obviously we need a certain degree of tone to make sure that we can sit upright. It may also do with the fact that they tend to have more coordination difficulties, particularly around the mouth, as well as sensory issues. They may also have endurance or stamina issues, which is often linked to congenital cardiac issues for children or babies with Down syndrome. So when assessing a baby or child's eating and drinking and swallowing skills, speech and language therapists look at the 4 different stages of this process, and these are outlined on my first slide. So stage 1, this is the anticipation